Most people buying a home this year will spend the first 18 years of their mortgage paying more to the bank than to themselves. That is not a side effect of how mortgages work. That is the design. By the end of this video, you will see exactly how that structure works, what it costs in real numbers, and where the actual leverage points are. Because there are a few, and they are not where most people look. A mortgage payment is not one thing. It is two things wearing the same number. Every month, you send the same dollar amount to the lender. But inside that payment, interest and principal are competing. And in the early years, interest wins by a significant margin. Here is the mechanism. Interest is calculated on whatever balance is still outstanding. At the start of the loan, that balance is essentially the full amount you borrowed. So the interest charge consumes most of the payment. Principal gets almost nothing. Take a $400,000 mortgage at 6.5%, fixed for 30 years. Monthly payment, $2,528. Month 1, $2,167 goes to interest. $361 comes off the balance. So in that first month, 86 cents of every dollar went to the lender. 14 cents went towards something you actually own. That ratio is not fixed. It shifts slowly. By month 60, you were paying about $2,064 in interest and $464 in principal, still heavily tilted. The shift only becomes meaningful after more than a decade. This structure is called amortization. The word sounds technical. The concept is simple. Your payments are front-loaded with interest, and ownership builds from the back of the schedule forward. The gap between what you are paying every month and what you are actually accumulating, that is equity lag. And in the early years of a standard mortgage, that gap is very large. Let's run the first 5 years on that same $400,000 loan and look at what actually happened. Let's run the first 5 years on that same $400,000 loan and look at what actually happened. Year 1, you pay $30,339. Of that, $25,868 is interest. The balance drops by $4,470. After 5 full years, you have paid $151,700. Of that, $126,140 is interest. The debt has fallen by $25,556. Look at that balance column. You have sent out $151,000. The loan is still sitting at $374,443. You own less than 7% more of a $400,000 property than on the day you signed. 83 cents of every dollar you paid went to interest. 17 cents went toward ownership. You celebrate 5 years in the house, blow out candles, cut the cake. Meanwhile, your spreadsheet shows you own 7% more of it than day one. A lot of money has gone out, and the loan balance has barely flinched. If someone had shown you that table before you signed, would the conversation have looked different? That is not a rhetorical question. That is the information that is technically available in every mortgage agreement, and almost never discussed in plain terms before you sign. Here is where equity lag compounds into something more expensive. Most people never complete a 30-year mortgage on the same terms. They sell, move, or refinance. And most of that happens inside 5 to 7 years. That window lines up almost exactly with the most interest-heavy section of the loan. So in practice, you spend years in the expensive part. Then you reset. Resetting means starting a new amortization schedule from the front. Say you refinance after 6 years. You have paid $181,700 on the original loan. About $152,000 of that was interest. Your balance is around $370,000. You roll that into a new 30-year mortgage. In the first month of the new loan, roughly 84 cents of every dollar is interest again. You did not escape equity lag. You went back to the beginning of it. The comparison most people make when refinancing: old monthly payment versus new monthly payment. That feels like the right comparison. It is not. The real question is, how much total interest remains on the current loan versus how much total interest you are about to sign up for on the new one? Those are not the same question. One is about breathing room this month. The other is about what the debt costs over the next decade. Lenders know which number is easier to sell. The loan works best for the lender when borrowers spend a lot of time in the early, interest-heavy years. Then refinance, move, or borrow again. That cycle repeats. And each time it does, the clock resets to month 1. There is a specific point in every mortgage where the math finally turns in your favor. It is the moment when your cumulative principal payments, the total you have actually put toward ownership, finally overtake your cumulative interest payments.